Hey everyone, Sean Tajipour, the mayor of Nerdtropolis, and today I have a special guest whose music has been a big part of my life. Please welcome the frontman of the band Everclear, Art Alexakis. Hey Art, it's great to see you.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for making the time to do this. I know you're in the middle of a tour and there's some rest time, so I'm glad we can schedule this for today. So I really do appreciate it.
I appreciate you. So I'm sorry that I missed this last one. I just got back from taking my 13-year-old daughter, dropping her and her date off at the mall. So
typical dad duty. So definitely that's all right.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to it. I've had two daughters, but it's still not my favorite thing to do. But he's a cool kid. He's funny.
There you go. No, that's awesome. I'm doing great. I know, Summerland tour, it's kind of a small break. I know you got a couple shows going on this weekend, and then, you got more coming up next month and for October. How's it been so far, actually, for you?
For the Summerland?
Yeah.
Summerland's been a blast, man. It's a great bunch of bands. Everybody gets along, no drama. At first it was slow. It was picking up towards the end of July as far as people buying tickets. People are having a hard time getting back and doing things. And now with the surge coming and people don't really know how to act. You would think tickets would be not selling as well, but the second leg is selling way better than the first leg. So I'm excited to just get out and play rock and roll, man. And people that are coming to the shows are just loving it. So it's been great. It's been, after 2020, anything up is great. But this is up there. So
yeah, I agree. I think we're all waiting to get back to concerts and enjoying good music. And how'd you come up with the lineup for this year's Summerland tour? Because it's a great lineup. So obviously it's Everclear, Hoobastank, Living Color, Wheatus. So how'd you come up with that lineup?
Well, it started with Living Colors. Like, we were playing a show in 2019. I think it was in St. Louis, a radio show, where they had a bunch of bands from the 90s, and they went on after we played, and we were out signing autographs. But I was rushing to get out there to go see them. And I finally did. I snuck away to go see them because I loved them. I grew up with them, in a lot of ways. And I've been a fan ever since they came out in '88. And I just thought they were electrifying. And I just went to my agent when he's going like, so what bands would you want? I go, I don't know how much they'd be. I don't know if we could afford them, but can you look into Living Color? Because I'd really be interested in that. And he came back and goes, well, this is what they want. I go, we can work with that. And I'd like to have something newer. And I was thinking Hoobastank or another band. And Hoobastank was my first pick for the other, middle band. And they're managed, I think, and same agent. So that worked out well. And Wheatus is just a band. They're perfect first band for the tour. They have one big, huge hit, but they're a cool band. They have a lot of great songs. And I love having them on the tour. They're my secret weapon.
There you go. Yeah. And like you said, Living Color, you're a big fan of them. It's got, this whole tour is about nostalgia, and Living Color is a nostalgia thing for you. So what evokes feeling of nostalgia for you?
Okay. It's not really all about nostalgia. There's a certain element of nostalgia is definitely exciting for someone, especially your age. But for me, I'm a rock and roll fan. These are rock and roll bands.
Right.
There's not a whole lot of rock and roll out there right now. And I think that's attractive to a lot of people because there's so many young people. Like, we just played a show in Oregon. I'd say half the people there were under the age of 30. And so it's not nostalgia for them. It's something totally new for them. And
I know I'm 32, Art, and I got some nostalgia feeling when I came to the Houston spot. And other than Everclear,
you weren't there back in the day.
No, but Hoobastank, actually, I would tell you, for Hoobastank, for me, it's a little bit nostalgic for me. I believe that was late junior high, early high school, most of my high school times.
You're right.
Right. So that's where it came for me. And like I told you in Houston, Everclear was, I told you so much for the Afterglow was the CD I stole from my sister. when I was about 8 years old. Yeah. Yeah. So I actually have it right here. So there you go. Some proof of nostalgia for me.
That's the one you stole from your sister?
Yeah, that's one y'all signed. Yeah. Yeah. So definitely I had a great, tons of nostalgia for me. I know for the audience. And you have when I was there in the Houston show, a great broad range of ages. A great range of ages. You even had parents that brought their little ones. It was awesome. I was next to a father that brought his kids, and they had to be in maybe junior high, maybe high school, freshman, 8th grade.
Right.
They were rocking out. It was awesome.
And those kids usually know all the words, man.
Oh, yeah. They remember more than I did.
I know. They probably knew more than I did. But, no, I mean, it's fun. I brought my 13-year-old on tour a little bit after that, about a week after that. And she came out for a week. And she just, she's like, what bands are on Summerland this year? And then she goes on Spotify and finds them, and she listens to them. And by the time she sees them, she knows all the songs. And that's what these kids today, they can find their way around the internet, no problem. Cause that's all they've ever known. That's all they've ever known. And so, yeah. And now that you say it, she does like older, like vintagey stuff, so 90s, which is funny when you think of 90s as vintage, because that was kind of that was like my prime,
Right. But, so a strange thing is, I actually really love 80s music, but I was born 89, so I missed it. My sister's just a few years older than me, but she loves 90s music. So it was weird how we flip-flopped what type of music we would have liked. But the early 90s to mid 90s, it was a great sound. And I was super excited when I came to the show, and having that feeling of the big, the bass drum and the guitar solos and all that stuff was really awesome to feel in person. Especially, it's been a while since I've been to a concert. So that feeling, the actual feeling from the music is actually really emotional.
Absolutely. You put it very well. I even say that on stage. It's just, isn't it great to hear the sound of drums again?
Right.
Just drums, rock and roll drums. And I got very excited at that Houston show where I ran out on stage and after Living Color, because I thought they're always on, but they were especially on that night. And I just I totally fanboyed.
Right. Well, they have a new fan in me, to be honest. I knew a couple of their songs, but after that performance, they got a brand new fan right here too. So that's really awesome. This whole tour, old fans, new fans, they come together.
Absolutely.
So do you have a favorite city that you've performed in over this whole career of yours? Do you have some favorite spots, some really cool venues that you've really liked and stuck with you over time?
Playing Portland, we started in Portland. So playing Portland at the Crystal Ballroom, that's a big deal. New York, Irving Plaza. But every city has a place,
Right.
It's really exciting. I don't know, it depends on the show. I've had shows, there used to be a House of Blues on the Sunset Strip here in LA and Hollywood. And I played a bunch of shows there over the year, and they were always good. But we played there once in Summerland 2014 with Soul Asylum, Eve 6, and Space Hog. And man, I don't know what happened that night. People still write about it. It was just the crowd didn't act like an LA crowd, which are usually, like that. They were like, rah! Even my wife's aunt, who's in her 70s, pretty hot 70s, her and her friend were just losing their minds. They were trying to go on the buses. They thought it was the 60s or something, going on the Who's bus or something. I'm just wow, just rock and roll can do that to you. It can just make you stop thinking and just feeling. And when rock and roll, good rock and roll to me hits you here with good lyrics, here with emotion, and down there with just pure animal, just feeling. There's nothing like it.
Right. And I urge everyone to go to the Summerland tour wherever it hits your city. And you've been adding a couple of dates, I know, recently for some of the cities that were asking for y'all to come. I saw some great new spots y'all added tour dates. I know when y'all were in Houston, the Arena Theater was quite the interesting venue. I've never been there. It's actually kind of cool.
Dude, I used to live in
Right.
Houston.
Right.
I never been there. I had no idea.
I kind of liked it. It was a very high school auditorium feel. And
yeah, but it had the round
rotation. Yeah, a little round.
Yeah. It was the wrong venue for us.
Regardless, it was still a great time.
It was a good show.
It was a good time. And I do urge people, if you still have the VIP experiences and all that stuff going on.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I do urge people to do that. The acoustic performance beforehand was amazing, and getting some time with y'all was awesome. And the seats were perfect. So I definitely urge y'all to check out the different packages for the Summerland tour.
Thanks, man.
It's definitely worth it. I'll tell you that. And I would say, like I told you, it was actually a gift from my sister to go to that concert. So that was a really awesome gift from her.
That's exciting.
Yeah, she knew how much Everclear meant to me.
Did you come too?
No, it was just me. I said, I'll go by myself. I was like, she knows how much I love John. I was like, don't worry about it. I don't have to drag you. I'll have fun. And I did have fun by myself. I'll admit, people don't have to take someone to go to these shows. You make friends when you're there. Not gonna lie, you do make friends when you're there, and you get to bond with some brand new faces. It's pretty awesome.
It's fun. Going to places by yourself, you're gonna meet people, and not necessarily boy, girl, whatever.
Right.
Not that, but just people who are there for the same reason you are, and you're like, hey, what's going on?
Right. The guy next to me, we're talking about old bands that we forgot about or never heard of in a long time, and we bonded over music. And I was like, oh, I haven't heard of this band in a long time. I gotta look them up again, and stuff like that. So it's pretty cool to meet people there that are like-minded.
It's really cool to meet people, and especially after COVID and quarantine, just to be around people and be social with people.
Right.
It was rough. It was rough on younger people for sure. People my younger daughter's age. I was young. It was hard. Right. And but they're all, getting ready for school, and there's surge going on, but nothing's closing down. None of the promoters have talked about not having the shows. I mean, just now it's probably going to be vaccination only. That's the way it's looking. Most venues, AEG just did it. Live Nation is pushing towards that, and a lot of the private promoters are probably going to go there too. And definitely masks. And, a lot of the shows in the summertime in July were outdoors. This next leg there's some outdoors, but I'd say most of them are probably indoors. And,
right. Some cooler weather cities too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to start getting colder in a week or two for sure.
Yeah. And like we were talking about Houston, you growing up in Houston for a little bit, and we mentioned Katy when I was there. And you're telling me about the area just growing up. I'll tell you real quick some fun facts about Katy if you didn't know. We have 9 high schools now in Katy. There's 6 movie theaters. There's a water park. There's an outlet mall, and there's an Amazon distribution center in Katy, Texas.
Wow. Now, when I was there in 1979, 80, it was one high school, Katy High School. That was it. I remember when I went back and visited friends in 84, they were just finishing another high school, I think, on the other side over near Fry Road, in that area over there. Yeah, when I get off on Mason Road now, I can't even recognize it. I don't know where I'm at. I'm like, I'm trying to find my old Silverstone, but I don't think it exists anymore.
I think maybe it changed names. Doesn't ring a bell right now, but I think if I think about it, I can figure out where that was.
Yeah, because if you get off on Mason Road and you go past the Kroger's and all that stuff there, then there's a stop sign and a street, and then you go to the next stop sign. That was and go right. That was Silverstone over there.
Okay.
But at that time, you could only go about another 50, 100 feet, and the road stopped.
Right.
Mason Road stopped. Now it goes all the way to, I don't know where.
The next city over.
Yeah, pretty much. But I mean, it just like, what's the big boulevard that goes all the way out there now?
Or there's Kingsland Boulevard.
No, the one that goes through all of, we were just there. It was right near the venue.
I do remember you you brought it up. I'm drawing a blank right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank too.
It's these days. We all are these days, it feels like.
Westland? No.
There's a Westland, there's a Westheimer.
Westheimer,
yes, thank you. That is exactly what we're talking about. Yes.
Now.
Yes.
But back then it didn't. It went as far as I think like FM 1960.
Right.
Anyway, this is boring for people.
No, we do have a lot of Houstonians that listen to this, so I thought it was really fun to get some facts about your time in Katy and Houston here.
And I lived in Montrose for a while. Had the punk rock band, and back in the day, that was fun.
Well, we love you here. You know that. Here at Nerdtropolis, we're all about pop culture, art, and we want to know some fun facts about you. So growing up, some fun facts. So growing up, did you have a favorite comic book, superhero, or cartoon?
I wasn't really into superheroes per se. I was like Batman. But comic books, they weren't really as intense. I liked two kind of comic books. And it's funny because this is going to sound kind of goofy, but when I was like 10 or 11, I used to ride my bike to this old school drugstore. You could sit at the counter and they make you an ice cream soda or a grilled cheese sandwich or something. And I would get Archie comics, even though I was already smoking cigarettes and I was already kind of always in trouble with people. And, just this far away from juvenile hall, I just loved how simple everything was in those, and just the boy girl and going to high school and Riverdale and that whole thing. Right. So, but I also at the same time liked really scary comic books, like horror comic books. Mm-hmm. And but now, even like in the 80s, it just took off. Comic books took off, and I was a huge fan of Love and Rockets and a lot of that kind of art.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was your first album that you owned? Do you remember?
Yeah. My first album that I owned was a band from England called The Animals. And they had a hit called The House of the Rising Sun. And my second album that I ever owned was Sgt. Pepper's by the Beatles. My third record was Are You Experienced by the Jimi Hendrix Trio.
That's some great choices. That's pretty awesome.
I'm a rocker, man.
That's a pretty good start. Do you have a favorite movie?
Of all time?
Yeah, or something that you just love watching nonstop.
Yeah, there are, over and over again. There are movies like that. There's a movie that came out in the, I love political dramas. Mm-hmm. And there was this movie called The Contender that I enjoy a lot, that came out with Joan Allen and Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges won an Academy Award for it at sometime early 2000s, I think. But there's so many movies like that I grew up with that I love watching. I love watching The Godfathers, any kind of gangster movie. I love rom-coms. I really do. I love 80s, 90s rom-coms.
You got to name a couple.
I'm kind of blanking.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm trying to think right now.
Some John Hughes movies.
I love John Hughes movies.
Yeah, so do I.
Turned my daughter on to John Hughes movies. So yeah.
Good job. There you
Pretty
go.
in Pink. We just watched Pretty in Pink and 16 Candles and what's the other one? Oh, Breakfast Club.
Breakfast Club is one of my all-time favorites, and I love Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Well, that's just classic.
Those are just classics.
Those are just classic movies for sure.
Yeah, those are great. I have to ask this question. How did you get roped into Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide? Because
the guy who is the showrunner that wrote those shows and was the creator for that show was a big Everclear fan. And he just asked if I would want to come down and do a part in the movie. And I came down a day before and I had watched it. But my daughter at the time, my eldest daughter, she liked that show. So I didn't tell her I was doing it. So I went down and did it. And they wrote out the script, but they left it opened in so I could have some input into it. Just like the name of the character,
Mr. Gibson.
Gibson.
Remember? Yep.
And And It was just fun. And it wasn't even my band. I don't even know who those guys were. Those were
There's
just
some extras.
They're just actors that they hired to act like they're in a band.
You did a great job. That's a really good episode, and it's really fun, especially for a Nickelodeon show. It's really rock and roll. Definitely, that's what the whole show is. That's all that episode's about rock and roll. And you're in a rock star.
But also about like learning your craft.
Right.
Constantly trying to get him to do his scales.
Yeah. He almost gave up. He didn't want to do it. But that was a good.
I haven't watched that for so long. I got to watch that again.
It's I did catch it recently on Paramount Plus. They have all the Nickelodeon shows on there. So if you have Paramount Plus, you can watch. I think it's a season 2 episode of the music teacher, Mr. Gibson, played by Art.
I get recognized by kids all the time, right around your age, right? That are like, I know you. You're famous, right? Yeah. Well, I have a band that did really well. What's the name of your band? Everclear. And they'll be like, nope, that's not it. And I'm like, well, I've been in movies and different stuff. And no, what movies? I was in a movie with Reese Witherspoon. There's a movie with Kevin Costner. No. I was on a TV show that was on Nickelodeon. They're like, you're Mr. Gibson. I get that a lot. That's funny.
No, that's awesome. You have quite the resume, so everyone loves that. Outside of Summerland tour, what are you planning on working on after this is over this year?
I'm like, when I get up, after I have lunch, after I get off the phone with you, I'm going to, I got to go, I just got my email for my classes. I'm taking classes to finish my degree for psychology. I'm going to be a psychologist. I'm going to do psychology. I'm going to do counseling and coaching for creative people that have issues, just like I do. So,
no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I'm segueing into next.
Okay, great. And congrats on 32 years of sobriety.
Thank you, brother. Yeah.
So you've learned a lot, and you have a lot to learn to teach others. So I'm super excited for that chapter of your life.
Thanks, man.
What should people know what they expect to go to Summerland tour when they find a place that's close to them?
You're going to get a rock show, man. You're going to get a great rock show, 4 great bands, and lots of hits, lots of fan favorites, not a whole lot of messing around in between, and just a lot of fun, just trying to keep it up. Because rock and roll, if you're playing rock and roll or watching rock or working rock and roll and you're not having fun all the time, you need to get a new job. And that's what I tell people. And thank God everybody on this tour are just really upbeat, positive people who are very grateful for being able to do what we do for a living, which is, I have a lot of gratitude for that.
Right. So it's Everclear, Living Color, Hoobastank, and Wheatus, and they can go to summerlandtour.net. Grab those tickets. The VIP packages are pretty awesome. You'll enjoy those. And hoping for next year's Summerland tour. Anything you know about next year yet?
Nope. Not even thinking.
Well, I'll definitely be there for sure. So I appreciate it, Art.
All right, cool. See you later.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.